In this episode, we're going to work on the entrance to the incredibly iconic Jurassic Park Visitor Center. As you can see here, I've terraformed and created this huge spherical template for us to work off. So, let's begin. Here, there's a tiny bit more terraforming I had to do, as this field I created to place in a Jurassic Park lagoon was not nearly big enough, so I simply showed a tiny bit of terraforming there just to show you my process of how I do this. And now we start designing that lagoon. Now, the lagoon is just a big, dark, shallow pool of water that lies in front of the visitor center itself. So there really wasn't much technicalities to building this. I just had to create a huge template here and then kind of just dig out the area and prepare it with water. But the way I got the dark effect was quite interesting. The way that I used something I've never used before, which was coal blocks, and these black blocks then placed with water over the top of them create that dark lagoon effect I was looking for. And then just the last little effect was to remove this little lip here because it didn't work at all. It looked much better as this flat surface, especially when I started to add the trees alongside. Now, this visitor center is surrounded by lush Costa Rican jungle, and that is a grand effect within these films. But something Ellie Sattler, one of the paleontologists, mentions in the film is the fact that the foliage they've specifically planted in Jurassic Park is actually poisonous, and it's also from the dinosaurs era. So in this respect, I used these kind of Minecraft trees because that means the trees around the visitor center aren't the same as the ones in the jungle. So this tiny little details that was incredibly important for me. So then I created these big, tall, grey wooden trees, and the style of tree this is actually looks incredibly accurate to what we see in the films. So then I obviously go on and just add in those extra details. Like, Jurassic Park isn't perfect, you'll see this in the film. There were like lily pads kind of all decimated throughout the lagoon, and there's all overgrown grass around the safari electric tracks. So I kind of captured this same style within my design. Now we move on to the entrance itself, and here we work preferably in this episode on just the gardens and the water features and that kind of design around the visitor center. So that's what we start building up here. I'll start using the different stones, kind of keeping that sense of continuity again from the previous episodes and making sure it all feels like one big cohesive park. So, what I noticed was interesting about this part of the visit centre is we have the stairwell up the middle here, and then the gardens to the left and right are divided. One half is water, and the other half is like all just like Jurassic foliage and stuff. So that was something I had to replicate here in this kind of semicircle. That was something else I sort of thought was really interesting about the design choices within Jurassic Park, is that the visitor center is this huge spherical building, then everything else that's worked off it is also based around circles. The roof is a huge spherical cone. In the same way, this little garden area with the water features here is a massive semicircle that's dug into the main circle itself. So you can see that design being worked in there with the water features pouring down the side of the stairs along with the foliage themselves. In the next episode, that gets edited again a little bit more just to further update its accuracy, but I'll leave that for then. So here we're just working on a tiny little path. Obviously we need a way of accessing the vehicles that take people into the park itself, so I added a little stone path here, keeping again that level of accuracy that you'd expect. And then I moved on to looking towards the huge jungle here, and then obviously built it up and made sure it kind of came all the way up right next to it and overlapping over the top of the visitor center like we see in the incredible film itself. And that actually brings us to the end of this episode. So as you can see, we've worked on all the foliage, all the outside natural environment that we see in the Jurassic Park film. We see the start and the end of the safari ride, all the different trees and the different styles of the plant themselves, and this whole entry water feature we see here. Now in the next episode will be the final episode of the visitor center, in which we'll create the windows, the walls, and that iconic thatched roof we see on top of the visitor center itself. So look out for that episode very, very soon, guys, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.